The News is a sort of surreal comedy show that's it's one of the longest running comedy shows of all time, and I think we might be reaching its final season. It just feels like we're in, and let me tell you, the series finale of The News is going to be pretty spectacular.
The MASH report has had a little break. Yeah. After its first run. Does that mean that in the period in between the series, things were taking place and you were just sitting there agonising because you couldn't write a script for a show?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes my friend Sarah Campbell, who works on the show with us, there was one week where she texted in and she texted me just being like, I wish we were working this week. I think it was around the time, I think it was when Roy Moore lost. When Roy Moore lost, she said, I wish we were broadcasting this week because it's sort of the only piece of, it's a sort of unequivocal piece of good news that has happened. I mean, it was good news in the sense that, you know, maybe a couple of years ago, an alleged sex pest not winning a major election in America, that would not have qualified as good news. But now we'll take what we can get. We write constantly with this kind of weird sense that at any point we might have to bin everything. Because, you know, with the way that things work, you're always thinking, well, something could happen that means we have to, that renders all of this. I mean, I remember when we were working on the last series, we were doing a monologue in the aftermath of Charlottesville. And so you have this kind of monologue done, and so it got to Tuesday, and I remember us thinking, OK, this is locked in, OK? Because he's apologised, and we're going to whack him for, you know, this kind of the kind of odd equivocation, and we thought nothing's going to happen. And I got a text from one of our writers, Max, that just said, you need to turn on your news things right now. And he's just standing there in the lobby of Trump Tower, and he's just ranting and raving. And you go, right, okay, that's a swift rewrite. But with all these things, like, you're working right up until yesterday, at the last record, I was changing jokes 15 minutes before we started recording.
So when you weren't on air, were you there just kind of scribbling away ideas, notes of things that happened for callbacks for this series?
Yeah, you're sort of staying on top of stuff. I mean, I do various sort of topical podcasts and radio things, and so I'm always across it from that perspective. But also, I mean, I, like anyone else, am just glued to this slow-moving car crash that is Western civilization. You know, like, I watched Theresa May's conference speech just the same as everybody else, you know? And when the letters fell off, I was like, yep, this feels like how it was always going to end.
So much bizarro, freakish madness is out there. People become quite blithe about events because it's just almost like, oh, well, at least X didn't happen. This is like a Y.
Well, and also the other thing is because so much is happening. I mean, in any other year, the allegation that the President of America paid off a porn star to cover up an affair would be huge news. But I mean, it was barely a C plot that week. You know, it was like what Kramer was up to in an episode of Seinfeld. Like, it's just been forgotten about.
What do you do, and what do you and the team do to kind of clear your heads in sort of to get away from all this, just to kind of regain a sense of sanity?
I realised in the last series that I became sort of obsessed with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, I like those movies, and I'm a comic books fan, and I watch all those movies. But somehow, when we were filming the last one, I got obsessed with it. And, you know, I've got all of them on Blu-ray now, and so, like, I'm just watching Marvel movies. I think that if you spend too much time looking at the news, there are so many shades of grey, and there's such a kind of moral uncertainty at the heart of everything. It's very reassuring to watch a film where the heroes are uncomplicatedly good people, even if they do turn into giant green monsters and smash our buildings.
So which one of the Marvel Cinematic Universe films is like your safe space?
I think probably the Avengers or Guardians of the Galaxy, the first Avengers movie, mainly because it's you know, it has that thing of, you know, these are sort of these are sort of a scrappy bunch of heroes, but also it's like a real cornerstone of both of those movies is people being friends. That's a really important theme to both of them, and I think that I'm seeking mental sanctuary from the news.